What's going on, everyone? About 80% of stocks in the S&P 500 today closed in the red. As we can see by looking at today's heat map, the market is starting to get a little bit spicy. We had some stocks like AMD, Tesla, UNH, and a lot of others move in ways that we haven't seen in a while. This is happening as geopolitical risks are rising and as the stock market is still on one of its strongest uptrends in history. In today's video, we're going to talk about how the market is changing in a big way, the mega opportunities that'll be associated with it, and other important things to be aware of going into tomorrow and the rest of the week. Don't forget, the big man, Jerome Powell, is speaking tomorrow, so we should be in for a good day. But with that being said, Tom, let's jump right into today's episode.
Once again, Mike, guess what went up? Gold again. We have to talk about it off the bat. Ended up going up 1.48%, seeing some great movement to the upside there. And we will talk about this a little bit more, along with the oil stocks as well, which also had really good days. We've been talking about these a lot. So congrats to everybody who hit on those gold opportunities and the oil setups here in the short term. But Mike, looking at the market today, everybody was watching Tesla's delivery numbers early on, and it was not good. As you can see on the chart, Tesla fell off by quite a bit. I was trying to calculate the overall move from like yesterday's close down to the low of pre-market. I saw like down around 7.5%. So that's a pretty big drop for Tesla, which is a behemoth out there, one of the more popular stocks in the market. And whenever we go to the hourly, they are actually approaching recent lows again around 160. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on Tesla, Mike, because it's not looking good here in the short term.
No doubt about that. And Tesla has actually been the worst performing stock in the S&P 500 this year. So that's pretty rough to see. But Tom, tell us more about this delivery data that came out this morning.
Oh my gosh, Mike. And we've been talking about Tesla a lot, how they keep lowering prices. Now they're raising some here in the short term. And get this, they reported 386,000 deliveries. And according to 11 estimates by FactSet here, they were expecting around 457,000. So that is a huge drop, Mike. And if we actually look at the the fourth quarter of 2023, it actually almost dropped by 100,000 deliveries from that fourth quarter of last year. So that is pretty big, Mike, to just see that deliveries are falling like this. But I've heard that demand for Teslas are going down. Obviously, there's a lot of economic strain right now. Interest rates are high. It does turn people off to cars in the short term. People don't want to fork out that type of money, but at the same time, they keep lowering prices, hurting their margins, and they were doing all this to try to get better sales, and it looks like it didn't work.
I know, that's the thing. So looking at Tesla stock in the short term, whether you love this stock for the long term or you hate it, it doesn't matter. In the short term, it's all a game of momentum, like many other stocks are in the market, right? So it's like when you see the stock constantly putting new pressure on that low of day and spending a bunch of time at that low of day, it makes it a lot easier for the stock to fall, and it makes people more tempted to panic sell out of it, which makes the stock fall even more in the short term. At the same time, if the stock holds up in a strong way and starts to see some actual positive movement, that can definitely reverse the trend. But on a day-to-day basis, it's all a game of momentum. So keep a close eye on Tesla going forward. The bears have definitely been in control of this one, at least in the short term. But one thing the bears have definitely not been in control over, Tom, is the overall market. The S&P 500 or SPY is still very close to its all-time high. And I came across a super interesting chart today that basically shows the maximum intra-year drawdown so far this year has only been 1.7%, which is the lowest ever, going all the way back to 1928. So what this shows you, just in straight facts, you can say, is the stock market has barely pulled back this year in a literal way, and I guess in a figurative way. The stock market has barely dropped at all, and it's very rare to see this low of a level of downside drops. But I will say this though, Tom, head back over to the charts and check out the volatility index, ticker symbol VIX. This thing shot to the upside by 7% today, and as we know, Just by looking in past data, whenever we see the volatility index move to the upside in a major way, that normally is a pretty big warning sign for the overall market. So I guess what I'm saying is the stock market has barely dropped at all this year. It's one of the it's like an anomaly, I guess you can say, how little it has dropped, but we are starting to see some cracks starting to form.
Yeah, we are. That is pretty shocking to see the VIX do that again today, Mike. And we've been seeing the VIX actually move up quite a bit recently. There's been a lot of these chops here to the upside. Hopefully, and honestly, Mike, I kind of hope it starts moving in even more of a way so that we get even more volatility. That way we can even have better opportunities in the options market, right? Like if we do see SPY start to fall down, I know a lot of people are going to start freaking out short term, but actually it's I know it sucks for long-term accounts, but in the short term, it almost should be celebrated, right? Because they create so many good opportunities out there. But we'll see what happens, Mike, because the overall market, that is one hell of a stat. Going back to 1928, usually we don't have data going back that far.
Yeah, that's going way back. But some other interesting things that I saw is if we check out this next chart, the stock market has actually been up on a month-over-month basis for 97 trading days in a row, which is the 9th longest streak on record. Again, we're going way back, Tom, all the way back to 1928. But again, it shows that, the stock market's move has truly been historic in multiple different ways. And that's awesome in, multiple different ways for any stocks that you've owned as they just continue to go up and up and up. But it's also interesting because it will eventually present some pretty great opportunities when the records are broken. So I'm super excited for the rest of this year because, well, for multiple reasons. It is an election year. We have a lot of things brewing in the market in the world right now, which should make for some, what I'll call some pretty crazy moves in both directions throughout the next couple weeks and months.
Yeah, and Mike, we've actually been looking at a whole bunch of different tickers and just sectors in general over the past couple months, and a lot have been starting to heat up, right? I know you mentioned like geopolitical tensions earlier and a couple other things, and man, what has been going off lately, and we've been talking about it just about every single day, that is gold, GLD, running up again, and when these records do get broken, we'll see VIX start to pop again, and maybe GLD will keep going, but it's awesome to see gold continue up to highs, Mike. GDX, GOLD, all the big money plays are popping off too. I was looking at a couple of these earlier, and man, a lot of them are well over 100% at this point, if not even approaching 200% now on these options.
Yeah, I know people have been banking off of them, and I've been loving this move with GLD as well. We can't shut up about GLD, GDX, and all these other gold-related stocks, and they just keep on marching higher and higher and higher. But yeah, it's been great, and I'm very happy we've been talking about them so much. And, again with gold, it made a brand new record high yet again today. So keep a close eye on GLD, GDX, SLV, GOLD, NEM. There are a bunch of gold and silver and precious metal related stocks and ETFs out there. There has been a giant uptrend with them lately. And to be honest, Tom, we're getting to that point where it's like, I wouldn't be all that surprised if they start to pull back at least a little bit, but I'll tell you, still over the next couple weeks and months, I'm very excited to see how gold continues to move.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to see him doing well. And I know that, gold has been going up a lot lately. There's been a lot of central banks buying up gold. And I think that the geopolitical risks are kind of forcing now a lot of normal people are looking at gold, right? Like whenever it gets up to highs, we start to get that euphoria happening. And I think we're seeing it right now. But Mike, I know that there's another thing that's been going up that has probably been pissing a lot of people off, honestly, over the past few months is gas prices. And looks like the summertime is usually a time where they start to go up, at least over the past few years.
Yeah, and when you mentioned gas prices going up, just look at ExxonMobil's stock chart, and it wouldn't be too much of a surprise. This is another one we've talked about quite a bit. But yeah, this thing has been rocketing up nonstop over the past couple of months, and it just seems like every single day it just goes higher and higher and higher and higher. And I will say this about ExxonMobil, it has been one of the most consistent stocks I've seen in the market at least for 2 months. It's just that sheer level of consistency is pretty awesome. And, it's great to see a move like this one. I would say at this point, if someone is not already in it or in a similar oil related play, it would probably be to just wait for a pullback, just given how much it's already up.
Yeah, that is a good point. And if there's like a big breakout tomorrow and like we see Exxon run above like 120 and we start to see that good pressure on the high of day like we did today, then there could be an opportunity there. And I actually called out Oxy last night. I've been calling out oil stocks just about every single night for a long time now, Mike, and it's good to see that they're starting to move back up. I know OPEC's been cutting production since like the beginning of March, so that's been kind of pushing it up too. We have geopolitical tensions, so crude oil is on the rise. Oxy, we got Exxon and Mobil, of course, CVX. There's a whole bunch out there that follow oil, of course. One of my favorites, Mike, is actually like USO, like the U.S. Oil Fund in the short term. But at the end of the day, I mean, you just really can't go wrong with like Exxon and the bigger oil companies out there.
Yeah, I have to give you credit, Tom. You've definitely been hitting on these oil stocks pretty hard for like the past couple weeks and months. So awesome job there. But tell us more about Jerome Powell tomorrow. The big man's coming back.
Oh, yes, he is. I know that he's been sparking a lot of headlines over the past couple months, and it looks like he will be speaking tomorrow at a Stanford event. So keep that in mind. He's going to be giving like an economic outlook speech there. I'm not sure what the speech will entail, but at the end of the day, when Powell talks, you definitely got to look at it. And we're actually getting ISM Services PMI coming out at 10 a.m. as well.
Sounds good. So just to add some information, tomorrow's Powell event is not an interest rate decision. But like Tom said, whenever Powell speaks, it is worth listening as he has the most power relative to the stock market than anyone else out there. So keep that on your schedule. And then, Tom, let's do one more check-in with earnings.
Yeah, I know, right? Tomorrow's the only real day with earnings. We got BlackBerry and after hours. Thursday, we got ConAgra Foods, but we won't bore you too much there. We'll get right into the plays here.
You clicked off that earnings chart pretty quickly. That had to be like the quickest switch I've ever seen in stocked up video history. But good stuff there, and I love it, Tom. Let's get right into the fun stuff for today. One stock I am continuing to watch very closely is SMCI, and it's to the downside. So I talked about this stock in yesterday's video. I was looking for a break below $1,000, and it had a nice move lower to start the day, but it didn't really like move with all that much momentum as the market just chopped around from open. So I'm continuing to watch this one to the downside. I would like to see a clean break below like that $980 support area, or you could even say like $975 or so. That was right around the low of day today, and I just want to see consistent pressure on that low of day, a break below today's support, so you could say around $975, and then just a continuation lower. One thing I want to add, though, is that if we see the market ripping to the upside, then it would not be a smart idea to trade SMCI to the downside. Like, we want to see, the market's direction also aligning with the direction of the stock.
Yeah, that's a good point. That would always help out a lot of these tech stocks, and a lot of these tech stocks have even been kind of defying the market lately, which has been a little bit crazy to see here. I know one big tech stock that definitely, I don't even know if you count this as a tech stock, right? But it's Tesla, and I've been talking about this one to the downside a lot, and I have to go back at it to the downside again for tomorrow, especially with those bad delivery numbers. Like, how do you miss deliveries by that much while you're lowering prices to try and entice more customers? Like, I can't wrap my mind around it, Mike, but Tesla's losing some steam here. I know that might anger some people, but like when we go out to the daily chart, we're sitting right around big support. If 160 ends up giving out, I will definitely look at a move lower, and I'll even look at a good initial move at open down towards 160. Even if we break the low of day today at 162, like a nice 2-point move down there, you might not be up 200% from that, but even that could make for a good scalping opportunity.
Tom, I've said this in the past, and I'll say it again. You are lucky you're talking about Tesla the way you are in 2024 rather than 2021 or 2020, because the Tesla bulls in 2020 and 2021 were vicious. You say anything remotely neutral or bearish, and it was just taking hell to the streets. But good stuff there. The stock has been moving in a pretty crazy way over the past year, so I like it. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is UVXY. This one's definitely more risky, so keep that in mind. But basically, if we do see a continued sell-off in the market, UVXY can have a nice move to the upside. Basically, when everyone's panic selling and the market's falling out of the sky, UVXY does pretty well as volatility increases. So I'm watching UVXY to the upside, but the most important thing with this one is we need to see weakness in the market for this to be a play. If the market is doing anything else but showing weakness, then do not play this, right? But if the market is starting to panic, if it's starting to drop and volatility is increasing, then this can be a good opportunity. This ETF is good for short-term trading, but you definitely don't want to hold it for the long term.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big thing, right? We really need to see the market continue down with this type of play, but it's going to be awesome, right? If the market does really pull back, this should make for a great setup. And talking about pullbacks, my other next stock is to the downside as well, and it's AMD. They've been seeing a lot of weakness actually over the past few weeks as well. They've been kind of stuck down here in this range, but if they break under this range and down under 174, 175, I will be looking at puts. And there are some big levels on the book map here at that 174, 175 area, and you can see it actually bounce right there today, had a pretty big fill down there, and then of course the volume came right back in, so that now there's more buyers even stacked again. So I'm really watching AMD to the downside tomorrow if these supports end up giving out. Again, the overall market falling will help, but keep in mind, AMD's been falling quite a bit, even when the SPY rises recently.
Alrighty. Well, it's now about that time for the momentum plays of the day. And with the first one, we have Coinbase to the downside.
COIN. Whenever you zoom out on this, it's been falling off quite a bit here, and there's a pretty good intraday support right around 242. So if we fall under that, then go ahead and look at puts.
All right, with the next one, we have COST, or Costco, also to the downside.
Costco was on fire to begin the year, and now they are selling off like crazy. If they break under 708, then look at those puts.
Yeah, Costco's been a powerhouse for sure over the past year, but it's just like they're starting to pull back. It's like when you're up so much, it's like it's only inevitable for a pullback to happen at some point. So good stuff there. And then with the last one, we have Meta for both directions.
META, yeah, this one's interesting. It had a pretty good day today, actually. I'm going to look for them to break above $4.99, and then you have to be careful of $500 up there, too. I would really like to see a strong move past $500. Now, if they fall back under $4.92, then I think puts could make for a good scalp.
Sounds good. All right, so we have the downside level on Meta, and we have the upside level as well. Don't forget about the downside level on Costco, and then the downside level on Coinbase. These three stocks are on watch tomorrow for day trades if and only if they break through the levels Tom listed. For the downside plays, we want to see break through those levels to the downside and then a continuation lower. And then with the upside level with Meta, we are looking for a break out above that upside level Tom listed and then a continuation higher. These plays are only plays if they break through the levels Tom listed. But it's now about that time for today's $1.3 million big money trade of the day. And some of you guys will already be able to guess this one. But we are looking at another precious metal big money play, and that is with SLV today. So instead of gold, we're looking at silver. So SLV, today the big money put $1.36 million into the SLV 22 strike call options that expire on December 31st of 2024. These call options are in the money. They have a lot of time. They're relatively high quality call options given all of the craziness we have going on in the world right now, especially the geopolitical risks, as well as the election year and rising energy prices and everything like that, that increases the, I guess you could say, attractiveness of safe haven assets like gold and silver. And then plus, like Tom mentioned earlier in the video, once you start to have these stocks move to the upside, it also creates kind of like that momentum effect. Once you have everyone talking about gold, breaking record highs and things like that, that brings more attention to gold and silver, which, a lot of times brings in even more buyers. So either way, the big money is pretty bullish on SLV here. I like it, but I'll also say this. This is not a trade that, will really matter what happens to it over the next couple of days. It expires all the way out in December, basically, the beginning of 2025, you can say. It has a lot of time to it, and I like it, but it's just like, if you follow it, you have to give it the time it needs.
Yeah, that's one really big thing with this. It has to have time because with how high these metals are, like, let's just say, now this is just hypotheticals, of course, never look at like past movement and say like the market's going to do that because of that. But like, let's just say silver is really close to this big resistance that it was at back in April of 23. What if it ends up chopping around for a few months here and then you don't give it the time it needs and then, you take a hard L there? That's not the way to go. You got to give it the time. It might chop around a little bit, but I think overall where we could see some good breakouts. Mike, I've seen a lot of crazy articles out lately calling for silver to beat a $50 soon. I mean, I'm not going that high, but I could at least see a short-term breakout.
50? That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's been all over. Like, I've been seeing all types of, like, things on investing.com. Be careful what you read out there, guys. You never know.
No doubt about that. And Tom, I have to tell you, I'm pretty excited with the way the market is starting to move. I especially love the way the volatility index, or VIX, is moving. The more this shoots up, the more crazy the market gets. And what that means a lot of times for options traders is the more explosive the options are, especially in the short term. So I'm pretty excited. I think there should be a boatload of great opportunities, not only in the short term, but even throughout the rest of this year. We have a lot on the schedule and multiple different ways and in multiple different sides of the market. So I'm pretty excited. Also, if you guys are into short-term trading, don't forget to check out the StockedUp trading floor. Our big money plays have been crushing it. Here's just a handful of the ones recently. Some of the best ones are some BZ call options that popped up by 525%, AAL call options that popped up by 312%, AVTR call options that popped up by 170%. It's kind of like a tongue twister here, Tom, but the big money plays have been crushing it. Of course, not every single play pops up by 500%, but they really have been crushing it. In the StockedUp trading floor, you get access to all the big money plays, full access to Tom and myself, a full access to our army of trading robots, and a whole bunch of other tools and features. Basically, everything you could possibly need for short-term trading, we have, and it's the place to be, and we don't do sales often, so now's the time to strike on it. If you wanted to get in, coupon code BIGMONEY saves big with the yearly plan. And while we're in the Discord, let's give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Mike J, who is a member of the trading floor, and he has been crushing it with GLD and SLV. So awesome job, Mike J, and keep up all the great work, and let's see even more screenshots like this from you in the future. But besides that, Tom, do you have any final thoughts before we close out?
Yeah, I know that we've been going through a lot in tonight's video. Don't feel bad. Go back and rewind it if you have to. Don't forget about Powell here at 12:10 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. He could bring in some volatility along with that ISM Services PMI around 10 a.m. That's really it on the radar for tomorrow, Mike, but I like it because we can focus on the price action, right? We can watch these gold stocks, the oil stocks. Man, the oil stocks are on fire, so let's go. There's been a lot of great plays in the short term, and I love to see those profits out there. Some of those are awesome, especially those GLD swings.
Big time. And whether you've been crushing it lately or even if you've been struggling, keep your head up high, keep those stop losses in place, and focus on base hits. Some days, like today, you'll have the market move big in pre-market, but once the market actually opens, it's just chop central, right? It just barely moves. And, while it sucks, sometimes that's going to happen, right? That's just how the market is. But by keeping those stop losses in place and staying disciplined and respecting them is what really differentiates those who succeed over time and those who end up blowing their accounts. Because in the stock market, risk management is arguably more important than anything else. So keep up good trading habits. Let's end the week strong. And last but not least, if you're new to the channel, consider demolishing that subscribe button. If you do, you'll get our videos recommended to you more often. But besides that, thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it tomorrow.